My name is Rosie Goldsmith and welcome to my Riveting interview series, conversations with authors from all over the world. My nickname is Rosie the Riveter, and one of my great passions is introducing readers to riveting writers. You may already know The Riveter, our magazine of international writing, as well as our online riveting reviews and riveting reads. They're all dedicated to giving foreign writers in English translation the prominence they deserve, which is exactly what I want to do with this series of riveting audio and video interviews. They're all free via our website, eurolitnetwork.com. Welcome to today's Riveting Author. Today we're in Norwich. We're at the National Centre for Writing. It's one of my favourite places to come as a writer, translator, reader. And I'd like to introduce you today to one of the most riveting people I have met in recent years. She is called Elvira Dones. She is Swiss, she's Albanian, she's Italian, she's a filmmaker, a documentary maker, a novelist and a short story writer. And welcome to Elvira, welcome to Norwich as well.
Thank you.
Now, Albania, that's where you were born. Talk us through your linguistic, cultural background and see where we go with that.
Yes, I was born and raised in a communist dictatorship. Albania at that time was one of the harshest dictatorships in Europe.
How did you cope? I mean, you were born in...
You were born into that, so you exactly didn't have any other choice but to cope with it. And as a child, you do not understand very well because we were brainwashed in the beginning. I mean, we were the happiest country in the world and we were the children, the happiest children in the world. So we believed that for many, many years.
You were told that?
Yes. And later on in life, you realize that it was a whole horrendous lie to us. But years had to go by until I realized that. So I studied in Albania, the University of Tirana. I started studying languages very, very early in life. English, Italian, French, German. It was my way of coping with the outer world. I felt safe with my books. I felt safe with the languages, and I was not the only one. I had other friends very much into books because studying another language made us imagine how the world was on the other side of the wall.
You saw it as a wall?
Yes, yes, because Albania was a huge prison. So it made us live with our books and have that freedom that we didn't have.
And when you defected in 1988, I think you were about 28, then
yes.
You were already...
Less than 28, yes. Yeah.
You've been working and you had to leave Albania. What happened?
I was one of the very few people that could leave the country because I knew the languages. I worked for the Albanian film studio and I had my own program in the Albanian state television at that time. So they sent me in Denmark for the Scandinavian film market. It was one of the very few moments, the first moments when Albania was trying to open up a little bit. And that was it the first time I went back to Albania because I never thought I would have defected. I had a son there, I had my roots there. It's a very long story, but basically the second time I left for love. I fell in love in Denmark with someone, which is now my husband. He was a journalist, he is a journalist. And so by the end of October 1988, I came to Milan for another film market, and then I forgot to go back.
You forgot to go back?
I forgot to go back. It was a decision I took in 30 seconds. And it is one of those things that you make, one of those crazy decisions, which was not, it was a whim. It was even with the hindsight thinking for years and years and years later, how did I come do that? It was because I was fed up with everything. It was my very first moment of totally rebelling in a very unrational way.
What damage do you think it created for you personally?
I struggled for years. It took a toll on me. Then bit by bit I created my life in Switzerland. I started writing right away, and the first book I wrote it's deeply autobiographical, the only one.
This is the one, it's called Without Baggage.
So I wrote my first book, my first novel, but it is deeply autobiographical, the only one I have written that has to do with myself. And it was the thing that helped me get along and fall on my feet again. So yes, it has been tough in the first years.
I mean, you've obviously had a difficult life and you're very open about that. And you've also written about women, particularly with difficult lives. Was that a very deliberate decision?
Yes, I think so. I have had an adventurous life more than difficult, because as compared to the lives of many Albanians or immigrants or people that leave their country, my story was a successful one in the end. So I feel lucky, and I have been lucky in so many levels. But we were the children of darkness. We grew up with this watch your mouth when we were kids, because you will put us in trouble. So I think later on in life, all my sensitivity, all my sense of empathy for the Balkans, for my country, I felt compelled to tell those stories. On the other side, I think I have a fatal attraction with the margins of life, with the unseen people, with the unseen stories. Lights, in a way, I like colors, but lights do not fascinate me very much, because lights are there for anyone to see. Whereas to find beauty and life in the most horrendous lives, between matters of life and death, that's what I've been all my life doing, and I find that beautiful in the end. And someone has to tell those stories.
And you do, I mean, the stories, you tell stories of war and of prostitution and of abuse.
Of survival.
And survival and of beauty. I mean, there is always that element in everything you write. It's wonderful. It's almost as though you're saying, okay, this is the triumph over adversity. You can do it.
Because I think all the survivors, they don't have the luxury to dwell into it very much, otherwise they succumb. So even in my country, there is a great sense of humor. Albanians have a great sense of humor.
But how do you cope after you've interviewed women about trafficking and your children who've been abused and so on? How do you cope as a writer and filmmaker?
Thank you for the question. It's an excellent one. It takes a toll on you, especially when you have on camera or you are taking notes of horrendous stories, and then you have to go back and do your dinner and talk with your children about how was their day in school. So bit by bit, then you know the tool and you know how to be immersed into that, but then you have to take a distance. Because what I do not want to do in my books and in my documentaries is to be too emotionally involved without having the clarity of it. So emotion is a great thing, but thinking and elaborating and keeping a distance, it's not always a bad thing, not at all. And Switzerland has been a very great help for me, because it's a neutral country. It's a country where the emotions are kept under control, more than in the Balkans, we are all fire. So yes, you learn and you take the best from all the worlds you have, and you put that in your work. This is what I feel passionate about. When I write a book, I do not think about if this book is going to sell or not. I do not give a damn about it. And I know that the publishers won't be happy with this. But what I first and foremost want to do is this the story that I live my guts, my blood, and when my inner voice said yes, then I go for it.
Why do you do so much research and investigation? I know that for your book on Kosovo, you went to Kosovo 4 times.
I am a very meticulous person, and especially because the stories are hard to tell, I want to have every detail, every piece of the puzzle in the right place. Then I choose to write it under fiction form, but I want the historical moment, the social moment, the whys, the reasons to be all in their places. When it's not a pure fictional novel, but it's a non-fictional novel, yes, I do that. I want to do it. I want to respect my characters to the end, to death in a way. And I think that is part of my being a documentary filmmaker. So one profession feeds the other, they respect the other, and they complete each other. I think that to me, being only writing something and staying always behind the desk, it's a dangerous place because sometimes you lose touch with reality. And you write stories as art for art's sake, which I love that a lot when I read it in other writers. But I want my stories to be there, to go out. I have to go there and touch the world and see if I am wrong or I am right about my perception. And so as to have that, I have to go and meticulously jot down, write down, then let it there, sleep for a while, then go again. Perhaps I'm sort of a control freak when it comes to that, but I want to be in peace with myself and say, yes, I did my best. I was not superficial. And I gave it all.
The one novel that we do have of yours in English is Sworn Virgin, and it is the most remarkable novel. I hope there'll be many more translated. You've written 7 novels now and several short story collections. Sworn Virgin is the story of a particularly Albanian phenomenon. Tell us about these women, the sworn virgins. Who are they?
It is a tradition. It's a very long tradition. It started more or less 7 centuries ago. So it will take me a long time to explain why, the background, the anthropological, historical, and economic reasons of why the sworn virgins in the northern part of Albania exist. Now the tradition is fading away. With the modernity, it's fading away. In the moment that a cell phone, a smartphone, enters the country, in the moment when 1.5 million of Albanians leave the country, the grip of the man over the woman, it has no reason to stay there anymore. So
these are women.
These are
sworn
women.
Virgins.
They are women that, for different reasons, it would take me so much time to explain. They decide, either their father decides for them. In the case, for example, when the father doesn't have an heir, a male heir, he tells one of the daughters that he thinks she has the strongest character to become the man while he's dying, so that this girl that becomes a man only socially, she takes the vow of virginity, she can buy and sell land, she can combine the marriage of the other sisters, because as a woman in the ancient Albania, for centuries, you didn't have any right of this kind. It was only the man, the father, or the big brother that decided for you. You couldn't decide on your own destiny.
How many sworn virgins were there in Albanian history? And these were women who were forced to become men, to take on the traditional role of men, or who chose to. How many do you reckon there were?
They are all aging now. They are old women. They do not, if they hear this, if they listen to this interview, they will get mad because they consider themselves men. So that's how they address themselves. It is fading away. It is few of them left. it has never been a serious census about them. So I cannot exactly tell how many of them are left. But they are up north in the Alps of Albania, and they are all very old women now.
It's amazing that they spoke to you, because this is such a closed society.
Yes, it took some time to convince them, and especially to make them feel at ease. They saw that I was not there to abuse them. I was not there to use them. I had written another book, which was a book that went big in Albania, and told the story, the horrendous story of the human trafficking between Albania and the rest of Europe, Italy and the rest of Europe. So my credibility as well was there. It helps me.
So you could go to the villages and talk to...
Yes. And the moment I had the permission of one of them, then I had the permission of the other 5 that I have in a documentary that I did after having written the book.
Elvira, would you be kind enough now to read a passage from Sworn Virgin? You're boldly going to do it in English. I'm very impressed. Where are you going to read from? Which passage have you chosen?
Well, it is the key moment when Hannah becomes Mark Doda, when she has taken her decision, and she dresses for the first time as a man.
So she's 20 years old at this point. She's in a village in Albania, and she makes this absolutely life-changing decision to become a man.
Are you sure you want to take this step, dear daughter? My name will be Mark Doda. The next day the news spreads around Rnai, and the village is alive with gossip. The men will greet her as a man, and the women will avoid her eye. She starts to keep a diary. In the 5 months that follow, Hannah takes care of Gjergj, the house, the animals, the memory of Katrina. She tries to make her gait heavier, more masculine, but it will take time. Every now and then she gives herself a break. There is no hurry, she tells herself. Don't run. Don't make a noise. Don't think. There is no hurry, not anymore. There is all the time in the world. Nobody is waiting for you. You don't have to worry anymore about how soft your hair is. You don't have to worry about finding nice clothes. A world's worth of snow separates Rnai from Paris. Now you are a man. You are a man. A man. You are not allowed to look at real men anymore. And everything is just fine, she makes herself believe. The snow, the dark nights, the dogs chasing each other, the shadows of the wolves across the snow landscape, hurrying like busy travelers. The mountains protect you and overwhelm you. The echo of centuries rings in your heart.
Thank you so much, Elvira. Thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you, Elvira Dones, and thank you to the National Centre for Writing here in Norwich.
Thank you, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you to today's riveting author. My name's Rosie Goldsmith, and thank you for watching and listening to our riveting interview, conversations with authors from all over the world. You can find our riveting interviews, reads and reviews on our website, eurolitnetwork.com.